All right, welcome to the build.
Well, Tom, on that, I mean, so the long horizon agent runs has been kind of the focus of for the last few months of where we're going, and I've been doing a lot of work on that front. And there are, like you mentioned, the timeouts and rate limits on the inference. Like that's really the challenge. Is every step along the way. We've talked about how it's a very fragmented ecosystem. Whether you're talking about storage, compute, inference, whatever it is, there's like 100 different entry points, like where your data is going. And so we've talked about tracing and logging, making sure that you have visibility and observability. And that becomes extremely important when you're talking about the long horizon runs, because if you can't figure out where is it dropping, it might have been a timeout on the inference. Oh, it might have been a timeout on if you're using containers, so things just got quite a bit more complex on that front. And it's just, something that I've been running into and having to be very mindful of. And every single provider, like you said, they do things differently. So that's where if you want to have like multi-provider setups, it can be a lot of work to nail it in for every single one of them.
What do you use for that? Do you use Langsmith?
Langsmith, and then I've started using Sentry a little bit more. You've heard of Sentry? They have
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have some direct integrations. Langsmith is going to be more on the tracing your LLM traffic. And then Sentry, sometimes I'll use it more for, like the true logging on the system side.
I actually have this problem right now. I'm just trying to work through with the guys that work around like is the ideal logging. It's like logging, observability, experimentation, and like eval kind of setup. I really want Langsmith, obviously, because I'm biased. I just said, like, can you guys just research it and see what you prefer? We use Sentry as well, like a lot of teams do. But I was surprised when I went in there. I was like, well, they haven't really, like, it seems like a very native adjacent kind of space for a company like that. Just like, well, like, let me do my tracing as well. Or like, maybe they could just, I don't know. I'm surprised that those bigger logging companies haven't just purchased companies like Langfuse or built their own off these open source communities, and then actually so you can visualize. Like I was like, oh yeah, I've got the failure rates, but I need to visualize. Like the next thing is like click it, tell me what it is. But then they're like, well, Langsmith doesn't do all of my other observability shit that I've got to do across every other part of the stack, because there's a lot of moving parts, right? It's kind of a gap. I'm like, why don't, like, it seems like a natural easy expansion. And then I'm trying to work in the OpenAI, because we're an OpenAI kind of exclusive model kind of use, at least within that part of the business I work in. Some other guys use Bedrock and some other bits and pieces, but I was building a bunch of evals this week, and it's crap. Like it's not easy to use. It's not like a delightful kind of user experience. It's almost like they just have like seeded that ground and said like it's only a developer first, like API first experience, and then they just like give away the rest to, I don't know, all of these other providers we're talking about. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like unified enough. If you're really going to build like integrated AI native kind of software, it doesn't feel like the infrastructure is like mature enough.
I think it's always been that way, but maybe there's more like the lines are less clear. Maybe developers are getting more exposure to, I don't know, the back end infrastructure type of stuff, maybe. But and you were talking about it's surprising that Sentry, maybe there's overlap between Langsmith and Sentry, but like there are so many different specialized areas and always have been. And I wonder if it will stay that way or like you said, I mean.
Well, what I was actually also running up against is how roles are changing, right? Like, so I'm a product person in this context, but now we are enabled into kind of more technical environments, people like myself. But then like engineering organizations haven't matured in a way that probably needs to reflect how these things are changing. Like I'm doing evals and kind of quite technical kind of like evaluation work and integration work and experimentation on top of which is sort of stepping on the toes of traditional engineering kind of roles. And these things are all blending together. Yeah. Like particularly in my domain, because I'm not I'm not like what you would consider, say, like a DevOps or a more technical product manager. Sorry, not DevOps, like a developer centric one where every product manager, based on everything that I've heard, everyone's becoming more technical. But if you're selling a product, if you're building a product, if you're building a product for developers, technically, traditionally, like the product managers are more technical, but now it's like, it doesn't really matter.
All right, welcome to the build.